Oh wow, has it been so long since I've touched Fairly Odd Parents. It used to be one of my favorite television shows, so much so that way back when I still used a robotic voice to narrate my videos, I made a theory on it. This theory of mine was coincidentally posted a few months later by Channel Frederator, who neglected to mention any of the evidence threads or logic trails, but they ended up getting an interview with the creator of Fairly Odd Parents, and while they barely discussed the theory, he did seem slightly into the idea, though oddly enough, they ended up asking him a bit of an unrelated question. Is Cosmo faking being stupid? He basically said no, but that wasn't even the theory, so strap in as I return to something that took me days to come up with. Something super deep, interesting, and wild. Why does Cosmo get progressively more idiotic as the series goes on? Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and did you know that Butch Hartman is a YouTuber now? It's extremely cool. I've been watching him for over 2 years now. Anyways, Cosmo. If you look at him as the series progresses, he grows increasingly more unintelligent. He goes from mentally sound to stupid to insane in a matter of only a few seasons. Butch Hartman was mostly adamant that Cosmo wasn't faking being dumb. Butch then said that the reason Cosmo got dumber, and this is the technical reason, is because he was fond of the higher voice method for Cosmo, and naturally this progressed into more of an airhead character. It's clear that they didn't take the story into account when really writing him super dumb, but this only makes it more intriguing, because what I'm going to do, and essentially what I did before, is explain the repercussions of this fact. How it works its way into the lore, whether the creators cared about it or not. This isn't a theory that can or will be confirmed because it's simply an analysis of storytelling repercussions. This is overthinking, so let's indulge together, shall we? My theory is basically that if fairies are overused to their breaking point, it'll run their magic immensely thin and they'll become mentally, physically, and emotionally unstable as their levels of internal magic dip into the negative. Many of your criticisms were that we learn how fairies will blow up into confetti if they don't use magic for long periods of time. I was actually challenged to solve this. It's easy. It's as I said, the magic levels must stay in the middle ground. This is common sense, people, or at least as sensible as this whole concept will allow. It's magic they keep inside of them. It's like a flow of energy that will build up and tire out, obviously. We are meant to know this on many occasions. Just look at how magic works being funneled to each fairy from the great big wand in the sky. And before I get into the repercussion analysis, some of you also attempted to debunk this theory by saying how we learned that Cosmo was dumb as a kid too. But I don't see where you're going with this. I never said Cosmo was smart, he's always been dumb. But if you can't see that he's gotten even more dumb over the course of this series, I don't know what to tell you. So anyways, my point is that fairies get dumber if they grant too many wishes. And we know that Timmy, based off of the tone of the series, is the most greedy wisher out there. He's wished more than any other kid in the world, I guarantee it. Find me evidence in the episodes if you don't believe me. Cosmo is also the one to more carelessly grant dumb wishes, constantly. Wanda has a conscience. Cosmo is spiritually vacant and entirely psychopathic. Wanda has also gotten slightly dumber, but it's really all Cosmo. And in the sense of the lore, it can only be from one thing. He only does one thing differently than Wanda, and that's basically using his magic constantly, giving it very little time to refill, and it's taking its noticeable toll. And so what would be the cause of this? Fairy World clearly isn't in any low supply of magic because, as they've stated quite clearly, their massive wand is powered by the belief of one man, Denzel Crocker. They obviously have backup plans, in case he dies, but for now, he is their source. For fairies to have a limit on their magic, there is only one other restrictor that could be the answer. If you know anything about the show, then you're quite aware of Da Rules, a massively massive fairy godparent guidebook displaying the limits and requirements regarding wishing. It was conceived and designed by Jorgen von Strangle and the Fairy Council, a team of the most powerful and mysterious fairies. The book is never really explained in depth, but this so-called mediation of magic is likely a massive law. The kids cannot under-wish because it will cause a build-up in the steady energy flow of magic, and they cannot over-wish because it will keep the fairies constantly drained. However, this rule appears to be quite flexible, as there isn't really a set limit on magic usage. There's just a great precaution, one Timmy and his godparents have all seemed to neglect, and I don't blame them. I mean, Timmy's life is a god-awful mess of malicious peers. Rules such as this are likely in place to sustain fairy world's overall levels of magic, but it's also likely in place to teach an extremely important lesson. Fairies appear to children who have an intense hatred for their own life, to the point where they blame everybody else. Children need to learn how to cope, as opposed to wreaking havoc on everybody else's lives too. The fairies are there as a venting mechanism. They distract the children from ruining everyone else in their wake. They mentally save them. And we know this is what they do. It is the premise of why Timmy has godparents. It's why Chester and his bum life gets them in the episode where Timmy never existed. It's why they first show up right after Vicky becomes Timmy's babysitter. It's because he was about to become unhinged, bordering suicidal sociopathy, being abused by Vicky, his teachers, and the surrounding mediocrity of society. The godparents show up to help him vent his anger on her without resulting in something more serious like him going insane and killing her. All of the wishes Timmy made after they showed up were at the expense of Vicky, and in return, after years of doing this, Timmy's beloved godparents are now the ones at the expense of him and his over-wishing. It's obvious. This is what godparents are here to do, to teach this huge lesson among others. Cosmo has taken most of the reins regarding stupid wishes since he already lacked intelligence, but Wanda's been noticeably hit too. In the second episode of Season 8, they sing a song about how Timmy has made 1 million wishes. That is recklessly absurd and power-deprived. Such a compensative and depraved little boy. How unfair to them. Some of you are pointing something out. You mentioned how after a child loses their fairies from growing up, all of their memories of the godparents are erased, so there would be no point in teaching the kids these lessons. Fair point, except there's one problem. This show is all about lessons and morality. Are you honestly going to tell me that removing memories of godparents will also revert his entire personality to what it was before them? No. Godparents are meant as guidance, and losing memories of them won't remove all of the experience and moral codes now ingrained into his mentality. Jorgen von Strangle and the Fairy Council wouldn't and couldn't do it like that. It would bring out the depressed nature that the child had before and would have made giving him fairies pointless. Common sense is key here. It's like how you said Cosmo was born dumb, but I never said he was ever smart. Besides, all babies are dumb. They're mindless. So it's a very interesting concept, and if you don't agree, that's fine, but it's one of the only explanations for the story based off of what Nickelodeon has done here. If you find this incorrect or wrong, please, I am very open to you explaining why, and I'd be very delighted to make a second part to refine all of this. As you can very clearly see, this is still in a rather rough stage and is currently stuck as more of a hypothesis than a theory. So we're gonna do this like the Patrick series. You viewers will contribute because I'm only one person and I'm not capable of binging everything. Give me your counter evidence and, more importantly, find evidence to actually support this. As seen with the Patrick series, it brings everything together, and things always click for me and others. Thank you so much for watching, and Butch, if you're watching, it would be phenomenal and genius to work something like this into the show, especially at this point in its lifespan. Thanks. Until next time, which I hope to be very soon, I'm the Theorizer.
Is there anything in magic that would possibly lower your brain cells? Like anything like lower your IQ? Like, is there like some reckless side effect to magic that...
I think fairies, it's funny, when you look at the fairies, they're all head.
Yeah.
So you think they'd be all brain.
Exactly.
But they're really not. Their heads are what make them float.
Oh,
so
okay.
the heads are
okay.
just full of air, basically.
Yeah.
Full
Physics.
of helium, I think, makes them float.
Yeah. Butch, On the possibility meter, what would you give the "is Cosmo secretly smart" conspiracy?
Well, let's see, on a scale of 1 to 5, since I think it's pretty obvious Cosmo's actually pretty dumb,